We're hanging out with Eli Green from Life Pilot today to talk about all things current in the world of the Life Pilot. Eli, how you going?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Another day in the office. I call the void the blackness, and yeah, having a chat with once again another awesome musician. And
Thank you.
oh, my pleasure. Can't say that enough. But yeah, it's all about Life Pilot and what you guys have been up to of late. First and foremost, after 10 years since your previous LP,
Mhm.
releasing another one, a self-titled album.
Well, yeah. I guess you could. I mean, as far as Spotify is concerned, we've released an LP previously because it was over 6 songs or whatever they classify an EP as. Um, but in our minds, this is definitely the first full-length album. We always sort of went with, I guess, longer-running releases on the shorter side of things, if that makes sense. Like we felt like a 4-track EP or something. Like to us, we grew up in the era of the demo, where 3 or 4 tracks was like, hey, we're a band, book us on some shows, here's 3 or 4 songs so you can get to know our range. So for us, like, the whole 4-track demo thing, or sorry, 4-track EP thing was just kind of a little short. So we ended up always doing like 6 or 7 tracks on our EP because we wanted it to be a little more fleshed out. And, the thought did occur to us, if we just added another song or two, you could pretty comfortably call it an album. But I don't know, it just didn't seem right at the time. And then, yeah, like over years beyond then, it was sort of, everyone was telling us the meta is singles, bro. You got to put out singles. No one has the attention span for anything longer than a single now. And granted, we did that, and it was all right. It worked okay. But then we just sort of got to the point where we went like, we've been a band for a long fucking time, and we've never put out a body of work that we think sort of establishes us where we feel like how we feel we should be seen as a band. We didn't want to be seen just as this kind of casual thing that occasionally we do something. Like we've certainly had a long time between drinks, but we wanted the next thing we did to have that kind of gravitas to it. So yeah, we set to work writing an album, and here we are.
Give them a big block, a big chunk of Life Pilot to digest.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the most Life Pilot that you've gotten in one sitting. But yeah, we're pretty happy to have 12 tracks on a record and feel like big boys. Like we did it. We we made a real album.
Yeah, and that's definitely an amazing achievement on top of all the achievements of your previous releases. And I was speaking with Ryan from a band called State Champs the other day, and they have also recently released a self-titled album. So it seems like self-titled albums are a big thing. They're touring with Neck Deep, who have also released a self-titled album. So
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of like the era of the self-titled albums and bands really wanting to establish themselves pretty much just as you said, with that longer body of work that more clearly defines who they are, at least for the present.
Yeah, yeah, and it's either that or all the good album titles are taken already. We kicked a few ideas around for the title, but we have always just wanted to, yeah, I guess exactly like you say, just kind of go like, this is us, this is who we are, and I think a first full length record is a perfect time to do that. It sort of feels right, especially after like getting through the pandemic, and like we haven't released anything since 2019. So that for some bands is like a career ago. We had bands pop up in 2019 that were supporting us, opening up for us, and then they went to have careers, and they've since called it quits, and like we're doing great tours, and getting into like signed by labels and all this sort of stuff. And this was just the time it took us to make a record. So we understand we operate on a very different sort of time scale, but yeah, coming back to it, we were sort of kicking around, what do we call this thing? How do we feel about it? And it was like, well, this has been our lives for the last 5 years. This is Life Pilot. This is what it is. This is what it's been, and this is what it will be for the next little while, obviously, as we go out and tour these songs. And go and play some shows under them and really share them with everyone. So yeah, I guess it makes the most sense to just call it exactly what it is, which is this is Life Pilot for the, for the next period.
And I understand that you also were wearing the producer hat for the album as well. So how do you feel as the producer of the album as well? You've kind of directed this new era of Life Pilot as opposed to, the High Noon era or the Too Hot for Killing era.
Yeah, that's a great question. It was an interesting experience. I've sort of dabbled with the producer hat over the last few recording cycles we've done, but certainly this was a big undertaking. And we weren't really sure how we were going to do it at first. Our previous single, Pretty Like a Pistol, that was 2019, that was kind of a test run for what the album would be. We worked with Declan White on that, who mixed the self-titled record. But largely that was all recorded in-house, mostly by me at the time. And it was a good dry run to kind of see, if we had the know-how and the ability to do things at the level that we wanted to. But we still sort of leaned on him to do drums and some other stuff as well. But then coming, full circle to now, we felt like, look, we're already deep in this. Let's go all the way. Let's just do everything. So in the end, we hit record on absolutely everything that you hear coming through your speakers and headphones, in this room that I'm sitting in right now. This is the studio that I teach drums out of, but it was built primarily actually to sort of operate as a bit of a home base for Life Pilot and track the album here. And it's actually a surprisingly good sounding little room, and we got what we wanted out of it. And it was a really cool experience. It was sort of, it took a little longer than we thought it might, because we weren't really in a space to just go, let's book off 3 or 4 weeks and just bash it all out. We sort of did it ad hoc. 1 or 2 nights a week we'd come around and lay down some vocals, or I'd do some drums in between, teaching drum lessons or whatever. It was just kind of like piece by piece, we locked it all together. But I like doing it that way because it gave us the flexibility to kind of take our time with things and make sure that they were the way we wanted them to be. We weren't really sort of under the pump and having to settle for too many things. But yeah, I really enjoyed kind of being producer guy, as stressful and time consuming as it was. And I fucking hate editing guitars and, doing all that bullshit that you have to do. But overall, I'm really happy with the product, and it's really cool to be able to say oh, hey, this is an album that I recorded, this was obviously the band's work, but just on a personal note, yeah, I'm quite proud of that,
Yeah, you should be. The record sounds absolutely monstrous. But
Awesome.
Now that the record is done, recorded, mixed, mastered, released, the next step for you guys is to take this on the road and go on tour. So
Yes.
How's all the preparations for that? You've obviously booked the tour, dates are out.
Yep. The preparation for that was fucking painful. You've picked me at a slightly weak moment where I've been very frustrated by the entire booking process, so I'm probably going to say more than I should. But essentially, I started booking that tour in January, and we've just had an insane amount of delays and communication errors and breakdowns from some external parties. And things took a little longer to put together than we would have planned. But in the end, it's all come together, So again, being in a band is not a simple thing, and especially a band at our level where we don't have a team of people around us to handle this stuff. I'd love to handball everything to a booking agent and just say, hey, fucking sort it out, But unfortunately, that's me. I'm that guy, so I have to sort it out. And when you're waiting from an important email from someone from a venue for 6 weeks and the whole tour is being held up, you get a few sleepless nights here and there. But we're really what was it? Yesterday we announced the tour, and man, that was a huge weight just kind of lifted off of me. It was cool. It's finally everything's done. The album's out. The tour's announced. The tickets are all up. Everything's functioning. People are sharing it around. The bands are all locked in. There's nothing more to do other than book a couple of hotels or something and just go and play the shows. Now, after all this time, we could just focus on fucking being musicians and playing shows, which is, you've seen our band, that's what we love to do. We love to play live shows, jump around and do a bunch of backflips and fucking whatever else. we actually get to do that for the first time in a very long time. So yeah, we're really excited, really, really, really excited.
Yeah, I was wondering about with the booking of the venues, given one of the film clips you released in lead up to the album coming out was for a song called The Nerve, which featured, like what, like a 10-minute or so long skit
I
before
think
the
it was
song
15,
even begins.
yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, half a full-time episode. And in particular in that, your vocalist, Angus, plays the part of a venue manager.
Yeah.
And some very peculiar expenses and frustrations come out with that. So I was wondering, yeah, did that maybe have any effect on the venues that went on to hire you, or did you get in front of that? Did you send that out to them first and like, don't fuck us over with this?
We'll put you in our next music video. I didn't even fucking think about that. Actually, probably maybe that's why I had so many issues with venues. No, I mean, that was all done in jest. It was certainly like, look, you understand it. You've been, playing in bands for a long time. Like, it's an interesting give and take that we have as bands with venues. They are obviously looking after their best interests, trying to make sure that the events that they put on are going to be, lucrative for them so that they can stay in business and continue to provide a platform for live music. And it's an essential thing that they do that and that they do get looked after. And we're definitely in the business of making sure that not just the bands, but as well the venue are getting what they need. But certainly we've had our fair share of interesting deals and communications with venues and booking agents and all manner of industry people. I think the music industry is an interesting place that attracts some interesting people, and not. I've always described the music industry as like the least qualified industry in the world, because everyone who's in it is just some guy or girl. Like there's very few people that have specialized training in an area that, no one went and did a degree in something, except for maybe, I don't know, stage managers or something. But for the most part, like everyone is just here because they've been here for a long time. We all get into it at 16, 17, 18, 19. And those that get to a level in the industry are usually people that just stayed there the whole time, So does anyone really know what's going on? Does anyone really understand what is the professional way to do? Like, I don't know, probably not, to be honest, but we make it work. But yes, we ended up sort of poking fun at some of the things that we've sort of dealt with at times in that video. And you're right, it did end up being almost a serial episode of something. There was actually a 30-minute version of it at first that our poor bass player, Nick, who does all of our videos these days, was struggling to cut down to a tolerable amount. But we thought, look, 15, 16, 17 minutes, that's a solid music video right there. You're getting value for money, right?
Absolutely loved it. Yeah, Nick killed it with the other videos that you've put out as well. Well, you filmed one of them in an insane asylum?
Yeah. Nick's been absolutely killing it. I've been really happy to see him, kind of taking this creative role in the band. I mean, he's always been a creative member of the band. A lot of the songs that are on the album are songs that he wrote or we co-wrote together. But his sort of foray into the visual world of Life Pilot has been amazing. And he's done such a great job with all the videos. And yeah, the Insane Asylum was a really cool one. We kicked around a few different ideas and ended up settling on, kind of taking this slightly more spooky approach. And we have a really cool historic old building here in Australia, in Adelaide, called Glenside Asylum. And yeah, like up until I think the 80s, it was running, but it started in like the 1800s, just as like a place where they would just keep people who were deemed legally insane, insane criminals and all the rest. And it's a pretty like eerie place. It's haunted. I've actually been on a ghost tour previously there at night, and like I think, I'm a bit of a skeptic, but I think I actually did see a ghost, which is kind of wild. So we shot the music video there. It was a perfect location for it. They were really cool to work with, and they actually had a ghost tour come in straight after our shoot. And the lady who like we sort of handed the keys to when we left, she ended up like hitting us up the next day being like, I don't know what you guys did, but we had more paranormal activity that night than ever before. They were fucking pissed. So whoever went on that ghost tour, you're welcome.
Yeah, I hope that was ectoplasm that I just stood in.
Yeah, that might have been Will. That might have been Will's sweat pile from too many takes of throwing the guitar around.
Now you just mentioned, yeah, your hometown, which is Adelaide.
Yep.
Um, and Adelaide, while it doesn't come up that much in the arguments, we'll keep it as arguments of music centricity of Australia. I mean, as with all the big cities, it's always mostly going to be Melbourne and Sydney fighting it out. My hometown of Brisbane going, oh, but we're doing some cool stuff over here too. And then, no, not to, rank it too much, but I guess I am. Then kind of Adelaide's after that, and then there's still a lot of people in the world that don't even believe that Perth exists, let alone Australia.
Yeah.
But one of the bigger acts that have come out of Adelaide, other than Cold Chisel and the Hilltop Hoods, the Mark of Cain, who you have also been the tour drummer for quite some time now.
Yeah, almost as long as Life Pilot's been a band, actually. Only a year or two shorter. So yeah, I'm over a decade as the work experience kid in the Mark of Cain, which is pretty cool. Yeah, it's been a fun ride with those guys. They're really awesome to work with, and they move at a very different pace to a lot of other bands. I guess they've hit that legacy band, period of their career, but the cool thing is they've still got legs. They still get out and tour, and we play long sets, man. Like, playing with those guys is far more taxing than Life Pilot or any other band that I play with. Those guys, they come from a different era of doing it, and they do it right, and they do it hard. So yeah, it's cool to work with those guys. It's good perspective for someone like me who, I'm younger than their oldest album. So. Oh no! Yes, that's right. Yeah, their album. What am I trying to say here? Their first album is a year older than me. Yeah. So, like, what the fuck do I know about the music industry? I'm a baby.
They obviously found and picked you for a reason, but within like the Mark of Cain camp, do you keep them like up to date with Life Pilot movements? Have you gotten to show them the record? Gotten any feedback?
I haven't actually. They haven't seen the record yet. I am meant to catch up with them this weekend, so I'll probably go there and gloat about our success and rub it in their faces. No, those guys are great. They're very cool, very supportive of Life Pilot. We've always joked about taking like the Mark of Cain and Life Pilot as like a sort of a tour together, a little tour package, and I would explode if I had to play both of those sets in one night. But who knows? Like, it might be a thing down the line. But yeah, they've always been fans of what we do, and I think my playing in Life Pilot and my style of drumming was a huge reason why those guys sort of took an interest in me in the first place. So even though there's not a ton of overlap, maybe sonically, between the two bands, other than that they're loud. There's definitely like an angularism to the way that the drum parts are approached and the song structure is written. And at the moment, like the Mark of Cain, we're working on some new material for the first time since I've been in the band, which is really great. So we're hoping to put down some recordings in the near future as well. And it's been kind of cool getting involved in the recording process there. Those guys, well, in the writing process, I should say. Those guys have been very like cool with letting me sort of have my 2 cents and bring in a few riffs and song ideas, and yeah, like they're no slouches either. They come up with some pretty interesting stuff and some stuff that makes me scratch my head and go like, wait, where's beat one? Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, it's cool. So hopefully we get some new stuff out maybe by the end of the year. We're not sure yet. It's all still up in the air, but that's the plan.
Developing as we speak. But otherwise, back to that idea of the potential of a Life Pilot and the Mark of Cain show. Maybe you could play that full-length version of the Nerve film clip in between the sets, so you got some time to get some feeling back in your arms.
I would need it. I think we might need to make a few more music videos to give me enough time to do that. It would be doable, but I would have to get a lot fitter. So yeah, I might have to start making use of the gym that's downstairs.
Go pump some iron.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, I said, kind of talking about the Adelaide music scene from my perspective, as someone that is in it, lives and breathes it. How are things looking in Adelaide for you?
I mean, I think good in general, but I think the whole music industry is in a strange place nowadays. It doesn't like post-COVID. I'm sure many people have talked about this, but we all know that the music industry took a massive hit, and like I just don't think it's quite recovered. And I don't think it's so much that there aren't talented musicians coming forward and bands emerging, but I just don't think that the way that the public views going out and seeing shows and sort of puts that importance on live music is the same as it was even before the pandemic. We certainly have noticed that it's just that much, there's just that much more friction to getting a show off the ground, or like finding a venue that's even open is the other thing too. I mean, a lot of venues now are, really struggling. There's ones closing left, right, and center. We had venues closing while we were booking our tour, even in other states. Like it's just difficult now to get something going. And when you do get something going, it's even harder to kind of reach people. I mean, social media makes that more and more challenging every day. Like it's not as simple to create a thriving music environment. It can still happen. There's still people that go to shows. There's still great bands. And I think Adelaide, like per capita, I think we actually have a really good strike rate of good quality bands. We're a little like Perth in that we have to have our own kind of ecosystem here because, like you sort of said, the eastern states tend to kind of dominate the dialogue and all the rest. So, there's a lot more going on over there versus here. What is going on has to kind of exist within its own little ecosystem. So I think like there's a lot of talent here, and there is a lot of bands that really deserve to be put on people's radars. Like a band like Signals, for example, who are some of our good friends here. Those guys are incredible. They're heading out on a sold out tour with Thornhill pretty soon. So like they're doing great. They're flying the flag for Adelaide. There's some other really great bands coming out that we're excited to see where they go, and sort of hopefully bring a little bit of light back to Adelaide. But I know that the attitude towards Adelaide in the wider industry is, I feel like we're just a slightly more, a slightly easier version of Perth. Like we get looked over a lot of the time. We're a smaller city. We're a bit further away, so we miss out on some of those big tours. But the thing that I would say to that is that if you don't bring those things out to cities like us, that's why they're not worth bringing out. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If those things don't come out here, if we don't get those bigger shows with those inspirational artists that everyone wants to come out and see, then you're never going to be able to foster a community that buys tickets and comes out, So, I don't know what you do about that. Someone has to take the risk, I guess. But I think Adelaide's a cool place. There's definitely a lot of room for the music industry here, and there's a lot of great talent.
No, definitely. I mean, it makes me think of bands like Freedom of Fear that are out there killing it. I saw they're touring, with Death Clock. Next month,
amazing.
It's going to be, absolutely wicked. Signals touring with Thornhill, as you mentioned. So there's plenty of bands killing it. And as you said, flying the flag. Life Pilot, of course, for me. I'm a huge fan, so that's my number one pick of Adelaide bands. I am personally so stoked that you are coming back to Brisbane on the tour. All the cities and places that you're hitting. I hope you get a great response. If you're watching this video, get your ass out there to a Life Pilot show. It's just hectic, non-stop energy. Look, I don't want to gush too much because, again, as you know, I'm already a huge fan, so I'll just go too hard. But I will definitely be at the show going too hard as well.
Excellent.
But yeah, thanks so much for the chat today, Eli. I'm excited. As said, Australia, the world, anyone watching this video, get excited. Check out Life Pilot's new self-titled album. Absolutely fucking amazing. And yeah, we'll as always keep tabs with you and see what else happens in the future for Life Pilot.
Definitely. Thanks so much for having me on, brother.